No, I think it's live now.
Interesting. I can picture you
It's
like click,
live.
Yeah, it's
open,
live.
new tab, tab, tab. If you just open the tab, welcome to the Fresh Space. And as usual, we have our guest, Tyrone, Lindley, and myself. We're all guests on this show, and we kind of off guess what's going to happen. In today's show, and we're just going to reflect on last week, we spoke about balance. And I would say Lindley's conclusion and synopsis is that being unbalanced somehow leans you closer to success, in a sense, being focused on something that is more important. And off air, we were talking about, how balanced you seem to make your life when you have a wife and child, as opposed to how unbalanced you can be if you were single, and people's perception of that versus success. Success in your 20s sometimes lays a foundation, and we might be talking about foundation today. But racism seems to always be a cloud over every foundation, and the Black Lives Matter. We salute you, but we might not be talking about that. So if you feel that the foundations are being shaken, it's maybe just the curse of the colored mentality. Having said that, let's let's get into the show
Hey, no,
today.
no, no plugging here, boy. No plugging.
Hey, I'm actually trying to pull the plug on that one, but let us just move forward.
Hmm.
So let's talk about foundations, and we spoke about balance last week, and I'm thinking we lean further on that, and let's just continue with the conversation about wife, child, and what seems to be a house and a car and a white picket fence and ultimate success in life as balance.
Well, look,
Lindley.
there is balance a reality because I mean, it's not. Have you achieved balance now?
Mm. No, especially not with the family. That's
So
very hard.
it's this elusive carrot that keeps being dangled there all the time. And to tell you honestly, it's probably like the same thing as like the sanctified life in Christ. It's just you get sold. This is what the sanctified life must look like, but it's just not achievable. So it's
Yeah,
kind of pointless. It's just
Mm.
so you may as well live an unbalanced life and achieve something.
yeah. Like what Daryl was describing was, I guess, until like my mid 20s. What's the picture of success? The wife, the children, the house, the car. That's all you were taught to live for, man. You know what I
And
mean?
then you realize they make you poorer.
Well, and you don't want to say that it's not enough, but like you know that like there's more, man. Okay, now I've got this stuff, and now those things need stuff. The wife needs something, the kids need stuff, the house needs to be maintained, electricity, food, blah blah blah. I know there must be another way to be able to maintain those things, man.
But I must tell you this one. Man. So Lisa now sends a picture of a brother's ex fiance. Is there such a thing?
Mm.
The one he
Ex
was
fiance,
previously
yeah.
engaged before he got married.
Okay.
And then she said she hope I wonder if she still has my mother's ring. So I'm like, why would she have your mother's ring? No, her brother wasn't working at the time. So I'm like, who gets married and they're not? I mean,
Working.
excuse Daryl. And Lisa's like, no, but some people are different. They have different ideas. Some people are happy to just have each other. So I'm like,
Mm.
I said that some people must get bigger dreams then.
Yeah, it's definitely that.
So
You
she's
don't.
like, no, different people have different opinions. I mean, I know it's that saying of as long as we have each other, they're probably heading for a divorce at some point.
Yep.
Because
One of the biggest breakup causes or divorce causes is money. There's not enough money, or there's not enough time. And 9 out of 10, you don't have enough time is because you're spending time at work or you have to do extra things to make money. But I mean, if you really think about setting yourself up in a place where the money is making money and you can be comfortable and spend time with your family, then it's not so bad. Then there's peace in the home, man. But the issue is always having to be out or being together, but there's no money. Those kind of things can break up a marriage, bro. I've seen it.
Well, of all the dreamers here, I think there's one here at the bottom. Daryl, you tell us how life is.
So where I find myself is in the top corner, actually, not at the bottom.
Yeah, you
Oh
find
And
this
my
out there,
God.
but yeah, by me, you in the bottom.
I know, I'm
Ironically,
saying you're
ironically.
asking me that's why you're asking me my perception of life, and I'm saying what you see is me at the bottom, what I see is me at the top. And maybe not being arrogant and confident, because I know I need to challenge myself and be a lot more ambitious now. But if I should revert back to what Tyrone was saying, in my teens, I had already started working, and by my 20s, I was buying things, owning things, and you know, in a sense, when you were raised to make that the objective, and you outperform the previous generation, you're
Mm,
earning more than them, you're opening their accounts, you're seeing their salaries, you're giving them financial advice, and you think to yourself, is this it, man?
mm,
When the arts came around, and performing arts being one of those, I want to say, creative expressions and spaces that you can find yourself in, I never thought of it as, at any sense, as a business, and even more so as a means of an income or employment in the arts. I literally thought working for a company and earning a salary is the ease all the ease, man. And there's those who own companies, and there's those who work for companies. And I was raised that, you know what, as long as you earning the salary and you can pay your bills, you can extend your credit, you know, you can increase your credit score on your check account, you apply for loans, that kind of world, and people being employed became a day to day. People owning businesses were always, funnily enough, sent to me as a second hand when they needed to open a personal account. When I met people that were in business, I felt like, in retrospect now, I had a rich dad poor dad experience, because my very best friend's father operated cranes and worked abroad and earned in dollars. I mean, he was the guy that bought a boat when he lived in Mitchell's Plain. So there was a boat in his, you
His
know.
priorities are really messed up.
So now in the street we live in, there's this one house with this family. They're the only family that have Mnet, firstly. And then they're also the only family that have a boat parked in the sand in the front of their house in a trailer. So you go there, and in Mitchell's Plain, you either have brown poles, or you could afford to get the fancy Vibercrete with
mm,
a pattern on top. So they had the cheap Vibercrete with no pattern, it's just straight in a wooden gate. And they had a boat behind that. But this guy was working himself up to owning his own crane business, and because he came from an uptown, upcountry small town, if he built a business there, he would have sufficient support and so forth. So he had the infrastructure and the mindset already. Meeting him and understanding that changed my perspective. And then a Muslim friend of mine, his dad was a quantity surveyor. They were again the guys that had the PlayStation and Mnet. But they also had a swing in the sand in the yard, and they drove an old Ford Escort. Both of these fathers in my life have moved on to own businesses, whereas my father was in the army and then worked for a company, and eventually died while he was working for a company. So, I mean, just put it, he was a soldier. He looked at it as that. And in both perspectives, success is probably limited to their perception of what they wanted to achieve. And when I say that, I say my best friend's father, just to be candid, he became an alcoholic, had a massive business, met a white woman while he was partying one night, made her pregnant, has now two kids with that woman. That woman's crazy, moved back to Cape Town. And, his wife, his ex-wife, then became saved, met a pastor, got married. They have a church together, but he still has this massive crane business, and success is what he has, but messed up marriage. The Muslim father passed away, but he's got a house, he's got children that's running his business for him now. Bought an extra property, connected the two, built an office on that property. And when we had visited there, it also felt like that kind of mentality that he was building that. Yeah, my mother still lives in Mitchell's Plain, so if I compare the three lives, it's completely different. Anyways,
Okay,
yeah.
there's a
So
point in there somewhere.
yeah. So when I when I talk about business, when we talk about business and success, um, then yeah, I've
You
that
weren't given that push or that thing
I
as
wasn't given
oh, you
that
can
push,
do
but
that.
I was given that perspective. And when I saw them, look, my buddy's friend, the father with the crane business, he had us selling suntan lotion in the summer to the white people when they moved up to Friedenberg. So they would see this colored and black guy because his surname is Laguma. So they North Africans. And basically, when we walk up, it's this colored guy and a black guy selling you suntan lotion. But the house that they lived in, honest to God, Tyrone, their property stretched from the square to the end of your road.
Nice.
And they
Where's the
had two
square?
entrances.
The square at the end of my road to the other end of my road.
So there where the square is an entrance with a garage, and then on the other far end so there's another entrance with a granny flat. Because I mean you needed space to park cranes because they would have two cranes parked there at any given time.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that unbalanced mentality, man. That is the point I'm coming to.
No, I can relate because I mean even with and please this is not I'm sure Daryl feels the same. There's not excuses. Obviously, we could have done research on our own, but like in my case was the same. It was as if the affluent families in the street or our cousins and uncles and that who were building businesses and being entrepreneurs because that's kind of thing that's in our family. As if we were told, no, they're on the path to destruction. You know what I mean? Because they're after riches.
Mm.
We rather gonna focus on ministry. You know what I mean? Which was obviously a backward style of thinking because it's not. It doesn't have to be either or, man. We could have still been a family in ministry in inverted commas and still pursued a successful life in the. Do I want to say secular workplace?
Sick.
That's what I said.
The world, the
The
world.
Yeah,
world. I
yeah.
didn't want to say it like that, but you know what I mean, man. They
You
shouldn't
just
have
say
been.
international ministries. That's
No, but there shouldn't have been a separation, man. You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
like my
No,
dad
but
would pride himself in telling us stories of how he was offered great opportunities to travel abroad, but God wanted him here to, to
and then
start.
I just hear idiot,
You
idiot.
understand? So that's what I'm saying. Obviously, it was on me. I could have still just thought for myself, but as I say, I can relate to Daryl where you look up to your I don't want to say hero, but the guy who's supposed to be teaching you everything about life, and he's going, I don't worry with that, man. That's for them. You know what I mean? Obviously, now I feel different. I was like, yeah, you could almost just left me alone, man. You should have just left me alone to do what I want to do. You know what I mean? But as I say, I can relate.
No, but
Not an excuse.
take Fred May for example. Hope he's not watching.
I hope he is.
But so
Fred,
when
feel
we
free to
sat down
comment.
and worked on the album, he was telling us about all the offers he like got coming up as like a young colored musician,
Hmm.
and then he decided to go ahead with the church. Ask him what decision he would have made now.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
So, and I mean, we're not talking about somebody who failed in life. Um, and
Mm.
I think one needs to reframe the term success. It doesn't mean success. Whatever your definition of success is, it doesn't mean that that is success. Let's look at the concept of success. Is that did you set out to do something and did you achieve that?
Oh
Mm.
yeah, then I'm very successful. I just I should have dreamed. I should have just dreamed bigger.
Said every musician ever.
That was the goal. You want to get on stage and play for money.
It's true.
Little did you know that there'd be little money and there'd be levels in within the thing, and you'd have
No, but I
to
mean, like, if you're truly
couldn't
honest
build a
with
life on it.
yourself versus what you set out to do, and maybe if you set out to have an international career, well, then that one didn't happen. But
Yet, yet.
and look around us, there's always the reality that the world changes at its own pace. It doesn't care about your personal life.
Yeah.
Um, the thing for me is more that level of success is not dictated by the surroundings that you find yourself in.
Hmm.
Like
Fair enough.
So if you colored, it's not that hard to reason out what the general colored considers success is. A decent car,
House, a
wife,
bond. Not even a house. Not
house.
owning a house, owning a bond, paying a bond.
Yes, and you know, and if you have
If you,
businesses, then I mean, I've met stupid business people too that aren't necessarily poor either. So,
Mm,
and one thing, one looks at South Africa and you look at, there's some really poor decisions being made by people that make a lot of money. Um, they don't seem to understand the environment that we're in. Um, they don't operate outside of an area they're comfortable in. Um, all those things are going to turn around and bite you. The things that we ignore, we learn to regret. So, I mean, so the best example is the Bitcoin thing. It's so pertinent and in your face all the time, but um, like diligent work, discipline, all the swear words. Um,
mm.
and maybe when I hear that whole story, I hear okay, peak too soon then. Because if you're in your 20s and
no,
you're owning those things and you're having that thoughts, then you've achieved what you wanted too quickly
no, but
or
I
too
don't feel that
easily.
that is what I don't think that that's actually what I wanted. And what I would say is that I think there
Yeah, but at
was
the time you did.
no. I would say that sometimes you want things because people want them for you.
Yeah, but you must be honest to yourself. That's what I'm saying. Is that
Yeah,
you would have
if
stayed
I
in
must
it
be,
until that point where you decided to leave. That's what you wanted. I mean, in my 20s, I
yes.
didn't know what I wanted. All I know is I wanted to be the best sound person that there possibly was.
All I wanted
You
was
almost made it,
what?
bro.
It took
You
it took me
almost, you almost made it.
it took me 3 to 4 years to realize that what then, man?
Mm,
Because there is so many spheres within the sound industry alone that it's not even funny. So it's not impossible. I mean, you can still be the best at what you can do. Um, but you can't rate yourself against somebody else because somebody else has different decisions. Then I wanted other things other than sound. Um, Now I want to probably not do sound. It
mm,
doesn't mean I hate sound and I want to get out of it
Yeah.
and never touch it again. I mean, the one group that I'm in is purely together by cryptocurrency, but they're all musicians. I mean, some have recording studios, some have music released. One was a DJ, but somehow they find themselves in cryptocurrency now.
mm.
Mm.
So you find that out along the way. But
Uh,
yeah.
I would agree with you 100%. I don't think that I didn't want to have those things at that time. But somewhere along the line, and I can distinctly remember where it happened, I wanted something different. One of the things that was very naive about me is that I wanted to own a club. I thought it was so cool to own a club,
Why didn't
right?
you?
Well, I'll tell you the
You
story.
got that
So
club owner vibe on you.
No, no, no! Don't
I
tell us the
do.
story. It was going to
What?
be as long as the other one.
Nah, it's short. It's
You
short.
got
I'm
that.
timing it, guys. I'm
You got
Why?
timing
that
it.
vibe.
Why
I'm
is
timing it.
why is Charlene laughing me?
Because she can hear me say he's got that club owner vibe. She says she agrees with that.
You know, that 140 kilometers per hour lifestyle. You know what
No,
I'm
they're just
saying?
like, oh, wait, me, bro, hey, greeting everybody.
Another one.
Hi, lekker, me, bro. Take the drinks to the table. There. You look like that guy.
Yeah, but then afterwards, I just realized that's just a venue and you need an actual event. Long story short, me and a buddy that had gone on a trip, a fully sponsored trip, met this guy that's the marketing manager of the company that sponsored the trip. So no names mentioned. I think I did a good job there.
No names mentioned.
And we were
You can
sitting.
see who's influencing you, my brother. You can see who's your hero. No names mentioned.
And we were sitting in the airport in Singapore in like a layover. I think the flight was delayed or something, and we had literally no more money to spend. Me and this guy, my buddy, me and my buddy. So we're just chilling there, having this conversation about what this experience was like traveling, and what are we gonna do when we get back to South Africa. And me and him had this dream of owning this club owner vibe, and he's total club owner vibe, which we had eventually got into, but it wasn't what we thought it was going to be. But the conversation we had with the marketing director of the company was around how this is a contractual job for him, not his actual job. Whereas it was a job for me, and I was looking at it like that. And he was talking about very much the same conversation that I had reinstated in my life when I met Linley around business and the mindset of the individual to be like on the cutting edge and fresh. Hence the reason why he's saying it's a contractual position, because he's doing the best that he can at where he wants to be for that moment, and it will change. And when you employ it, the best you can do is hope for an increase and or a transfer or promotion within the structure and organogram that is already predicted. You know what I mean? You're going to study for a position, you're going to apply for it, and if it's within that same company, within that same field, there's not going to be much change. But if you are in business, it's always going to be different clients. You need to reposition your proposal and pricing. And some of the things you were saying to me, I was about 23 when we had this conversation, 22. And it was above my comprehension. And I thought business was this fun tool game, club owner vibe. I almost feel like Lindy made this comment earlier when we had a short phone call, that the damage of hip hop was that, you saw people like Suge Knight and the whole American concept of business owners being American gangster type mentality. And I'm not saying that was the only thing, but I thought business owners are like merchants, man. You know what I mean? Like they're hustlers. You need to be a hustler, and anything bigger than a business owner like that would be someone that owns a tuck shop, or someone that is white and owns a massive company that most of my friends' daddies work for, and mommies, and brothers and sisters. So yeah, that's my story. Boom, 20. It took me 4 minutes, guys. My apologies for holding you up. Let's go back to our guest, Lenny Play.
Nah, but it's true. It's sometimes over your head, man. That's why I was saying it's not so much like in my case, I can't blame my parents. There were people in my life going, you know what? Think about this. Think about that. You should you should be looking at this. Here's this book. Read this book. And at that age, you're so playful, or you maybe I don't know if it's playfulness or just plain stupidness. Like you're not thinking about when you're 30, man, or when you're 40, or when you're 50. At least I wasn't. And that's what I was trying to say earlier, and even with the marriage thing, man. I think that is the foolish thing about that is I don't even know where I wanted to be, let alone adding a family onto that. Say, can't we all be lost
Look,
together, man? That is even
look,
dumber. Do you know what I mean? So I'm
do you
saying,
know what? Sorry to break with that on. Continue.
no, I was just saying. So I think you find out so late, man. Like, and obviously can always only speak for myself. I found out so late. It was like, ugh. Couldn't I have listened when that one dude, when I was 21, said, look at these things, man. You know what I mean? These are actually the important things in life, not these things. You're following this, but this is what's going to make that happen and give you peace of mind, as opposed to just chasing after the one thing, man. You know what I mean?
I'm
So,
so glad you said that, Tyrone.
you know what I mean? But now you meet a guy, maybe, I don't know, Lenny doesn't like us to use his name like this, but you meet a guy like Linley
A name in vain.
in your late 20s. Well, I met him in my 30s. Was I married already? We were married already. no?
Yes.
Yeah,
No, you literally met me before
You
you got
just
married, but
just before. But we started engaging afterwards. Yeah.
so Tyrone,
Charlie
you also
was
have no
pregnant.
excuse. He warned you not to get married and have children.
no, we
I
weren't on
didn't have
that
that.
terms.
Yeah. He left me. He saw me. He watched me do it. He was like, safe. We'll talk later.
It gets you another side. Another side.
No, but before we go down that path,
When you're vulnerable, Tyrone, when you're
Yeah.
vulnerable.
I'll catch
I'm
you.
sure I heard this framed like this. So your marriage commitment, is
Oh
where you
man.
bring the future to now and say, I make the decision that no matter what comes in the future, this will be my outcome.
Mm.
Now, your career path and your level of success is the same type of commitment. The only thing is, it's only with yourself.
Yeah. I agree.
So if you are not achieving that and you're not doing that, then you really don't like yourself, or you don't.
Trust
How
yourself.
can I say? You're giving yourself off. That's it.
Mm.
Like
No,
if
I agree.
something becomes hard, it's okay. As long because you're not making the commitment with anybody else.
Yeah.
It's only with you.
You and your future self. Like somebody, my niece was asking me because I. So you guys who don't know, I released a song recently. She was asking me
We all
why now.
know.
Yeah, I mean the watches, the thousands of
Mm.
listeners we have. And
Thousands.
she was yeah, thousands and millions of
See,
people watching.
guys.
Why are you
Yeah,
laughing?
Charlie's
How do you
laughing.
know? How do you know there's not thousands listening? Um, she was asking me why now at 33, man. Isn't 33 supposed to be my time where I slow down? I'm like, at 33, no, I'm not slowing down. But I was saying it's that, man. It's like
Picking up speed.
I'm only starting now, but it's slowing down. So I was just trying to. So I was trying to say to what you just explained is, I made those kind of promises to myself and squandered it. Now I actually know what it takes and what it entails. So now I want to commit to do it, man. Even if it fails in 10 years' time or whatever. But the thing is, just it's no more thing of, okay, I'm gonna trust God and God's gonna come with this miracle thing that's gonna make my ministry flourish because that is what was my vibe, man. Until I realized, okay, wait, I must work to make it happen. Oh, okay, cool. So now you know that. Now it's a different story. Now it's like, okay, cool. I don't have a choice, man. It's not about if it fails. It's not like it can't fail. Like, this is all I got. I've got other peripheral things that is gonna help, whatever. Obviously, I can't take music and make that my main income. That would just be
Mm.
an even more foolish mistake than my 20s. But you know what I mean. But it's more a matter of like, I believe that this is what I was put here for. This is why I'm alive. Boom. Let's make it happen. You know what I mean? And
Boom.
that is everything that is music, that is this, that is my wife, my daughter, all of those things I've encompassed into one thing. Okay, cool. Let's see how we can grow it and what it's gonna grow into.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's hard, like, cause like I say, what gets you to this point of? Did you guys hear that now?
Yeah.
The clap.
Oh, it was like, oh, is it there? Oh, it was my phone that vibrated. As yeah, you're looking at this and you're looking at that, and you're switching, you're switching, you're switching. Is everybody there now? Okay, cool. I'm running this. Everybody here now? I'm running here. Now it's just a matter of that commitment of this is what it is I want to do, and I'm gonna do it even if I die. You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah, I know it's late.
You mean late in life?
Yeah, well, that's how I feel because I know what I did for the last 10 years. But I guess also I'm not gonna die tomorrow, man. Or at least I hope so. I can't live like that anymore because that's how I used to live.
No, but
Yeah,
I
and I
mean,
mean,
hmm,
you
like
go. You mean first?
I hear a lot of excuses in life, and maybe I'm not saying yours is excuses. I'm just saying that it seems to be applied in South Africa. And maybe it's because we're fighting for the bottom line most of the time. But it's also hard. It's hard to be a business in South Africa when it's not the system isn't there to help that. And there's so many laws, which is a double standard because the people at the top don't care about the laws. But gonna say it's easy to float people if you wanna put it that way, because like you start a church and it starts becoming successful, and people presume that to be success, and it's such a, what do you call it, mirage. That's it, because a church isn't hard to build. There's not that much convincing you need to do in South Africa. People are
Yeah.
generally followers here,
Mm.
so it's almost a I mean, case in point, look in Mitchell's Plain. Within one road, count the amount of churches, and they're not empty. Yes, they're not
Blauwdakke.
coining it either, but I mean, I keep even his previous cousin that used to work with me. Is your cousin or second cousin?
Who's this? My cousin.
Darren.
Name and shame, Darren.
Oh.
Darren, if you're
When-
watching,
When we went to his church to fix their sound, whatever. I mean, obviously, it wasn't the greatest sound. They had spent money on it, and he said, "Yeah, our church doesn't have money." I said, "Look here, while your building is up and open, there's money
Mm.
because somebody's getting paid.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be doing this if there wasn't money coming in. So the problem that all churches have is a priority system. So clearly the sound is not a priority to them. So I don't want to hear that stuff, man. Like, I know restaurants that spend more money than churches, yet restaurants aren't exactly addressing the people directly all day long.
Yeah.
you can actually say restaurants are actually serving real food.
But I mean, I'm tired of fighting that fight with people. It's like there are other people in the world that are doing things that they want to do. It's better to work with them. I still maintain that if a guy living in Costa Rica in a bloody treehouse is randomly making $9,000 to $15,000 a month, and that's not even his income really,
True.
then we're all wasting our time with nonsense. It's like there is money to be made, and I mean, I'll show you the guy that is South Africa's lead influencer in crypto. He doesn't deserve to be there, man. It's just because he was there longer. He's wrong about most of his things. Doesn't talk proper English, and the podcast itself to me is like ear rape because he has a podcast mic, but I don't think he knows how to link it to the recording because it sounds horrible. And I get through like 2 minutes. I'm like, I can't do this, man.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, yeah, we sit with really high end stuff. We have the tools to do the things. Yes, maybe our content's a bit heavier, but in your case, if you want to do something properly, the tools is there. Like these are things that people will take years to get to. And there's a lot to be said about sitting listening to. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts nowadays, and you can tell like the one day that Steven Levera guy, he made a mistake and recorded from the laptop mic. You could hear instantly, man. And now you must spend an hour listening to it. And it's hard to listen to. And everybody that I talk to like commented like, wow, your sound is good, eh? Like, wow, it's just because I like good sound.
Yeah.
And you know what good sound's supposed to sound like.
And I know how to work technical stuff. So yeah, I mean, yes, I'm not the personality that people are gonna listen to. Whatever. I don't.
That's not so easy. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought I was, but it's not so easy. Once
That's
the
why
camera's
the three
on,
of us
you're
are
like,
working together.
and
that's
and
why
and
the
and,
camera goes live. You're like, um.
and look, Lenny, just to add there at the end, it's probably a lot easier to get to know you on the other side of the screen than in person. So they can't pick up the personality that most likely think it's just a show or an act. But the real you is the real you that we know, Tyrone and I. So this is an easier way, filter. Look it on a filter. I just wanted to come back to what Tyrone was saying about like goals that we were taught growing up, and in relation to the reality of Bitcoin now. I think one of the things at that stage when you're working that seems like before the carrot bars and the pyramid scheme money things came in. One of the things that people used to consider the Bitcoin of the day was getting life policies, RAs, and even funeral plans in place. And if you had money to maintain those things, you'd be getting a payout of some kind, um, 5-year endowment policies and so forth, and saving money, which was it was something that was so. I don't even think it was part of the, and I say maybe it's part of the curse of the colored culture, to not save money and to not think of life like that. Saving money was if you could get the best or cheapest groceries at ShopRite as opposed to Pick and Pay. That is how you save money. Um, uh, I feel like it's a conversation that probably wasn't had at the right time. By the time I had it, I saw it in a different perspective. I saw it more as, it is the Bitcoin of the day. I'm going to put money in investing.
But also, if you look at the generation before that, them
Property was the
saving.
other thing. I just say that.
Oh, sorry.
Property was the other thing.
I mean, like if you look at our parents, right? I don't know what your family was like, but like let's say my family, all my grandparents or whatever, they were very bad with money. They were either drinkers or they were druggies or whatever. So like the generation after that, the fact that they could just have money for food in itself, they thought they were winning, man. You know what I mean? As opposed to
Yeah.
growing up, is the other story. We ate fat and bread. We had fat on bread. That was lunch, and then you have an egg once a week on a Saturday. I always hear stories like that. My dad, like on a Saturday you get your fried egg because you can't have egg in the week. You don't have a choice. You must eat what they gave you, whatever. So like in my dad's case, the fact that he had money that he could plan for, oh, I'm gonna buy food and I can buy eggs on a Wednesday. I can have fry egg on a Wednesday. For him, that was like top level success, man. You know what I mean? So I think it's also that, man. It's like the
Yeah.
standard was so low for them, man. Like the fact that he had a job that he also did well compared to his mother who was like a cleaner and she didn't know if she had work next week because next week they might get another cleaner or whatever else. So the fact that he had a permanent job, he could go till standard 8. I got my junior certificate. You know what I mean? Those were all achievements to them, man. Yeah,
Mm.
so how does a person with that kind of standard in life teach their children that there's actually a lot more after that? You didn't even know. I mean, I speak to them about financial things and their eyes are boggled. Wait, so you're telling me this Bitcoin thing, there's no bank involved and so you're telling me I can take my whole pension and I can put it there and they can't take interest from me and those things when then you're like, yes, that's exactly what I've been saying. So for him, that's like the pen is dropping for him, man. You know what I mean? But I'm going.
Yeah.
It took for his son to mention it to him, who had to learn it from somewhere else, man. It's not like my dad is a financially forward guy, for lack of a better word. He's good with money, definitely better than I am. But what I mean is, in his mind, he's reached the ultimate level of success in his life, man. He had a job, he worked for a family, he owns a house, he's got cars, and I guess he's a pastor now, so that's also probably like a colored goal, I guess. So how does he teach me that there's more than
No.
that?
Christian colored goal.
Yeah, that's
No,
what I mean. Like
Christian goal. This is a Christian
in
goal.
his circle, he is the winner. You know what I'm saying, man? I go,
Mm.
ish. I don't blame him for not teaching me that there's a lot more because that's how he was taught, man. Or at least maybe what he decided what he's gonna do.
Well, I mean, I think the principle still exists. So if it's modeled in front of you that you see someone that desires to do something and does it, that's a very different thing for a child than we literally is, man. If you get what I
Okay.
mean.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So I mean, I sort of had to fight my own way because my father was a principal teacher, mother was a teacher.
Okay.
My father was a CEO, still by the end of being at the CEO, had never sent an email in his life. Still hasn't. Um, very old school. I mean, to a degree, I had to shield their opinions out of me when I decided to go out on my own. Because my family is like the Wati family. And also Lisa seems to be like that as well. What if this and what if that? If I must listen to every what if, I'll never do anything.
Yeah.
So no one in my family has business endeavors at all. My brother's
Well,
trying this almond milk thing. He's selling
oh,
almond milk online.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if it's because he works for Take a Lot now. Um, but that's now, man. I mean, 5, 6 years ago when I was stepping out on my own, my father had that look on his face. So it's just like, oh.
gee. Ish.
And
Ish.
I don't know. It's like I'm now at the point. Yes, I'm trying to transition out of that very hard work life because you don't have to these days.
Mm.
I've seen what it
Uh,
looks like on the other side.
you guys,
A
we're
tree house in
talking.
Costa Rica.
No, I'm not just saying
We,
that, man. It's like there's other guys that trade very differently. Also, I mean, the one group that I'm in, the yearly amount to get in there was $1,200. They've got about maybe 200 people in there. There's 200,000.
Mm.
Well, I don't know if they're all in the top level, but the real price is $2,500.
Oh, okay.
But that guy doesn't sleep, and I mean, you must see the volume he trades with, man. I mean, he was moaning about the one competition because you had to start at point 0.1 Bitcoin. He says, "Yeah, it's difficult to trade like this. I'm not used to trading with such a small amount." So, like, he's maybe got 10 Bitcoin in his account for trading with. That doesn't mean that's all he has.
Mm.
And then
True.
he talks about how he's trading gold and silver and those things. And you know, when us South Africans come, oh, but I only have a $500 account. It's just, I don't know. It's a very different world out there. And it's not like there aren't local people that are trading large amounts either. So, I mean, I helped this other guy. He was really confused. He didn't seem to understand the arbitrage process. So afterwards, he was so thankful. He sent me 200 Rand in Bitcoin. But I mean,
that's cute.
when I was explaining that the arbitrage trade is like 100K that makes it viable, it's like, okay, no problem.
True.
And I'm like, there's people that are doing that, man. There's like, we always have this perception of further Africa is poor. They're not poor, man. That people are trading in big amounts. And even in there, like, I have to challenge myself to put more money in that side. Like, it's one thing to have $1,000 to trade with, but you can't make a living with that. You need like 10,000, fifty
True.
thousand dollars.
Seems so far.
You have to start somewhere. It's like at some point in my life, 20,000 Rand was a lot of money. It isn't nowadays.
Mm.
Mm,
You can watch
true.
that go just so.
Tell me about
Yeah.
And
it.
then, I mean, I was telling Lisa last night, it's like, even if you get a job and you get 12K, that doesn't afford you anything, man. It's like you're not even get approved for property on those things.
Mm.
So I said, look, if we can just get the arbitrage trade going properly for her, That'll pay you more than working.
Mm.
Because I mean, if you take 220K per year and you divide it by 12, you're getting 18,333. Um, yes, yeah, but you see, I still have that amount of money. I'm just saying that if we want to have passive income from that, all you have to have is somewhere you need to just conquer the 600K somewhere.
Mm.
But there's ways to do it smartly. And I mean, if you not talk these things with the average person, they just go, but I don't have that.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I didn't get to where I am by saying, I don't have that. In fact, it's Robert Kiyosaki's statement. And look, I don't agree with the man where he is now in life. And I know that most of his books was allegories, when it wasn't real life. It didn't really happen.
Mm.
But there were truisms in that book. And the one thing was a financially lazy statement is to say, I can't afford it.
Mm.
The more intelligent way to say it is, how can I afford it? If you need the thing and if you want to get ahead in life, you're going to have to figure out how. Now, there's where it comes down to confidence again. It's like the white person is going to go to a bank and take a loan because they're confident that they're going to do it. The problem is that we will not take that loan because we don't really believe we're going to do the work that we need to and just end up with a loan. So you always need that forward momentum, and that is why I have it out with the musicians. I don't want to believe in your cause. I don't care about your cause. I don't have
Mm.
any inclination to believe in your cause. I don't believe in you as a person. I don't care about your talent. You need to believe that.
Mm.
And then you come and hire me. Don't ask me to take a knock in my price. I'm not
Yeah.
going to. I
Yeah.
don't believe in you. I don't care about you. I don't want to care about you.
That for them, not like us. That's for them. Yeah.
But I mean, do you see John Mayer sitting there in the beginning of his career path saying, no, I don't believe that. I've practiced all my life
Mm.
and I'm not gonna make it. But you must believe in me. You take a knock,
Yeah.
they're gonna say, sorry man, there's a million other artists. Who are you?
Mm.
Yeah.
So
It's true. Yeah. Belief.
we must stop letting other people dictate how much we're worth. You at some point must believe you're worth something. And I'm not saying in La La Land worth.
Mm.
I'm
I
there.
mean, when
I'm
you,
by La La Land worth now.
no, if
I'm joking, man.
if you're worth something, then you need to be worth something.
Mm.
As we're coming to the end of the show, we probably cut over the next 10 minutes. I just wanted to ask, so I think Lynn, you gave a lot of advice for all generations, but I wanted to know, like, what's for the next gen? What is success for them? I definitely think Bitcoin is one of it.
No, the thing is, success
Because
is
I just,
it's a floating what do you call it? It's like a
Scale.
floating buoy in the ocean.
that's why I say the next generation. I mean, Tyrone and I, even yourself, Lynn, shared a lot about previous generation and how they viewed life, and we are the ones that are now, I almost want to say in that age group that not passing on the baton, but there's a
Speak
lot
for
of things to
yourself,
look at.
brother.
You've
No,
I'm
got
still on the
kids.
lower end of.
ask yourself that one. What are you passing on? Are you passing on the reality that you fought for everything that you wanted in life and achieved it?
Mm.
Mm,
And,
mm,
and if not, then start working on that. Because I
yeah,
promise you, your child is not going to pick up what you tell them. They're going to look at you and saying, but you.
Mm. No, it's true. And I
mm.
mean, I think
Now,
you mentioned it last week, but I mean, that was one of the turning points for me was success needs a plan, man. Like you can't hope to be successful, man. You know what I mean? There needs to be, okay, that's where I want to be now. Work back. I think that was your statement, but you probably will say it different now. you say work backwards from where you want to be, man. And I'm talking about this was in our early days of Charlene was still pregnant. That's what I'm saying. So I think that's why I say you mentioned it last week in a nice little sound bite. It was that like you were talking about the group that you're in. We're always also saying you have to plan to be successful, man. You can't just go, I'm gonna try this and see what happens. Like there needs to be like a step by step. So I
But
think for the next generation it needs to be that like
your success path is your marriage commitment to yourself.
I love that.
You bringing it from the future, saying that now I will get there, but every decision I make
I'm gonna
is for
slut the
that.
ceremony. I'm gonna slut the ceremony here tonight, bro. With
No,
myself
but
and my wife.
Hey,
and then
Lisa must watch that. That's deep.
and then it helps you say no to stuff.
Mm. Yeah.
Wow, that's very marriagey.
No, but it's true, man. It's true. You
Mm.
like okay, I don't know. That's okay. I'm gonna say it in public. Like I've had to say no to a lot of gigs now, and it's not that I'm windgat that I got money or anything, because I don't. But it's just you realize how much time you actually spend on to building somebody else's thing, man. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the thing for me was just, yo, this week I could have done this, but I have to now rehearse this and that. And then I did even, I don't say, it just this like thought come past me, like, but then why are you spending time on that if you say this is what you want, man? So maybe that's become your excuse now or your crutch, like, oh, I could have, but you know what I mean? So it's almost like this thought was just like, stop, maybe take that sentence out of your life and, like you say, believe in yourself and go, maybe if you spend that same amount of time on yourself, then maybe you also build something that you were trying to build with someone else. So I think it's like what you're saying is very valuable, man. If you know what to say no to, but obviously, yeah.
No, but
I
like
didn't want to say it now because I'm still early days in the thing. But the point is, I really do understand what you're saying.
but one thing that drives me mad when I hear colored people say is that why must we pay rent for somebody else when it comes to property purchase? And I'm
Yeah.
like, there is a difference when you've mapped out a plan financially and renting is part of that plan.
Mm,
Yes, I'm paying somebody else's rent, but I have another plan to do something else.
yeah.
But if you're going to use that statement as the end goal, then stop buying everything in life. Don't go to Pick and Pay. Don't buy that bar one because you are aiding Pick and Pay's rent being paid by buying that bar one. Then rather start your own shop.
Okay,
And
build
then,
a farm in your house.
why not stop there? Become a distributor because now you're just paying the distributors
Mm.
rent. And while we're at it, just import the stuff there. In fact, no, stop there. Why don't you make your own chocolate?
Chuck. You're still gonna need a farmer for milk.
Yes, and then why hire from the farmer, become a cow farmer as well, and get
Yeah,
your own milk.
yeah.
So just it's lazy statements, and it's
Mm.
not thinking statements. So it's just the problem is that you don't have a plan. That's what it comes down to. And people
Well
that don't
said.
have a plan speculate about these things.
Mm.
Um, for me, if I know where I'm going, I can rent along the way, man.
Mm. I was having a conversation with a guy over the weekend, and he was. I don't know if you obviously you've been in conversations where a guy will like, "Oh no, yeah, I know about that," and then they just make a statement, and you're like, "This guy's never ever checked this thing out." And then as I was now like in judging this guy in my mind, going like, "How can you do that?" I'm like, "Bro, I was the same." Because you become so arrogant in what you think you know, man, that you will just like outward. And I'm like, yo, I'm gonna try my best not to be that guy, because people aren't dumb, and at some point people start to realize, nah, you're just bullshitting all the time, man. You know what I mean? There's no way that you actually know what you're talking about. And also they will look at you, what you're saying versus where you are, or what your actions are, or what you're doing, or where you will be in a few years' time, and they're like, nah, this guy's been talking crap the whole time, man. So I don't know if it's a colored thing. I know you always say it's a colored thing, but I mean, it's heartbreaking, man. Because just watching it at play, and then you realize you used to be like that. Anyway, That should also be for the next generation. Just rather read it and then talk about it. Do your research and
Mm.
then say you know, than
Do your
to
homework.
yeah,
Yeah.
than to assume you know. Like
And I think one of the fundamental things that our stories brought up today is that we didn't take the time to do our homework and we relied on the sociology of knowledge and experience to guide our decisions. I think now with the way that social media and technology exist, you're able to source information and then discern what is actually valuable and apply it to your life. It's not like the conversations about Bitcoin isn't happening all over the place, but I think one of Linley's causes and why I'm with him in holding the battle is that there's a, a huge gap and knowledge deficit in the different races, and there's a fundamental, I almost want to say, shift in the generations now that I said it at the beginning, so I'll just throw it again. Black Lives Matter. But if it does matter, then knowing what to do with the ability to decide your own course in life now and your own knowledge streams and what is true should matter even more than the pigmentation of your skin and
It's a pigment of your
police and that.
imagination.
Ik kon nog daar uit, my bro. That's my closing line. I wanted to also say that just to before one of you say something next week, I would like us to add in something fresh and new. So if you're tuning in, we're going to try and have a song of the week, not particularly produced by anyone or the three of us, but just a song of the week. Because something that does speak volumes of the fresh space is that music does speak and have messages, and we always tend to lean towards them as being the role models for breaking away from the man and not working for any one particular person, but working for themselves. So big ups to you, Tyrone. Lenny stepped out a few years ago, but I mean, the moment you told your parents you're going to be a musician, they're like,
safe.
"Kan maar paastig gewees het."
I think they still think I'm gonna be that.
Hey,
It's
the
not like
next Fred,
yeah,
mate.
no. I don't want to be
You know,
responsible for anybody
when
else
you were
but my
saying
family.
when you were
You're a
saying you
part.
released a song, if it was a Christian song, it doesn't matter what age you are. You're releasing a song about an eternal God.
Wait, can I tell you something? And I'm glad this
Yeah.
is live. Everybody thinks that the song is a gospel song. It's not a gospel song. It's on a gospel top 20 chart. I'm like, okay. But I
Amen.
think but not to say that it's not about like it's not valuable for Christians to hear. I think it's valuable, but I mean me and Charlene were laughing like, what about if my next single is not about that, man? You know what I mean? Will the Christian stations then go, no, we're not gonna play this? But I mean, I think that is what part of the fresh space ideology was all about. Like we want to try and say the same thing, but in more layman's terms,
Palat-
for lack of a better,
palatable.
not
Palatable.
even palatable. Like just like oh, so I know I'm tongue tied. In the end of the day, it all boils down to the same thing, man. But we want to get out of that language of, oh God, my Father, I worship. You know, those kind of
Mm.
colloquialisms that's risen up within the church. Like, I mean, it's I don't know. With anything in music, you can take what you want from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Lindley, you look like you're busy searching for a song of the week. Do you have a spontaneous one to throw into the fresh space?
We need permission, bro. Can't just play a song.
That's a one way. Not that our
You can
live streams
always.
is being watched, but it's one way to get it. One way to get it knocked
Yeah,
down.
Controversy.
kick down
Uh,
before we even start. I'm sure
what
we,
do
we
I
can
say?
get
I'm gonna end
permission.
the stream now.
Okay,
You can
Tara.
always, we can always send Jimmy Swaggart an email. Um, side note.
I'm ending here.
Hold on. Let me close. So as we come to the end of the show, if you missed anything, it's 1 minute to go, and let us not be mistaken that Black lives do matter, but knowledge matters more. So let raise some. Just be a pigment of your imagination. That was the line of today. Don't get caught up in the black and white. Be colored.
Yeah.